Hey, thanks for dropping in. Tia Nova returned home last night after spending a few days visiting Grandma. Now, I love Grandma, but she's not the most adventurous cook. Theirs was a household where oregano was considered an exotic spice, and garlic only ever came in granulated form to be used for making garlic bread. So, to welcome my girls home, I'll be making them a chicken afritada, a flavorful Filipino stew. I guess it can be called a stew. Afritada is something my mother made a lot when I was growing up. So I'll be using her recipe as a guideline, with a couple of tweaks here and there along the way. Just like her version, I'm loading mine up with carrots and potato. But this is also where the first tweaks come in, because I'm cutting mine way chunkier than she did. This is so neither turn to mush during the cooking process. And I'm also using a waxy potato rather than the starchy ones she preferred. Again, so the vegetable retains its integrity and doesn't disappear completely into the sauce. Next, I've got bell peppers. Mom liked to use only reds, but I'm going with both red and green for a little extra color. I only need about half of each, and again, they're cut up nice and chunky. This is supposed to be a homey, rustic dish. Next comes garlic, of course, peeled and roughly chopped. Then onion. Mom always used white or yellow onions, but I had this purple one hanging around in my onion basket, so I thought I may as well use it. And finally, we have the chicken. I'm using drumsticks because they were on special at the supermarket and too good a deal to pass up. Thighs would also be excellent. Boneless, skinless chicken breast, though, would be. I'm trying to think of a better word than suck. Anyway, I'll hit one side with salt and pepper and hit the other side once they go in the pan. Speaking of which, into the wok they go with some oil. Season side down, of course, so I can hit the opposite side with some salt and pepper. I'll let them go for 4 or 5 minutes, then flip them over. All I wanted is a base coat of color on the skin, so the chicken doesn't look so anemic in the final dish. This is another small tweak from my mom's, and it's mostly cosmetic. Alright, that should be enough. On to the other side. And the chicken can come out. And the potatoes and carrots can go in. These are tougher, obviously, than the peppers, so I'll give them a couple of minutes head start. The potatoes are starting to go translucent, so the onions and garlic can go in. And the peppers too. I'll let these fry until the onions have softened, so another 2 or 3 minutes. Everything's looking great, so I'll squeeze in a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. This is another deviation from my mom's recipe, but I like the tomato paste in there to boost the flavor. Especially if you let it dry out a bit, it'll add an extra layer of umami to the final dish. And extra umami is never a bad thing when it comes to stews. Alright, this thing's ready for the bay leaves. Seriously, I don't know if these actually do anything, but they're traditional, so I'll throw a couple in there. I'll also add this can of whole plum tomatoes, which is another tweak from my mom's. Her recipe used whole tomatoes also, but usually just regular old hothouse, which she cut up into rough chunks. I'm using canned because I don't think it'll make a huge difference in the end, and it means less chopping. I'll refill the can with water and also pour it in there. And finally, a quarter cup of fish sauce. And this is why I haven't seasoned the sauce yet, because the fish sauce will obviously bring a good amount of salt to the party. You can always add salt, but you can't take it away if you put in too much. I'll smash the tomatoes down a bit, then leave it alone and let it come back up to a simmer. It's looking good, so in goes some freshly cracked black pepper. I'm still holding off on the salt though. I turn the heat down a bit, and the chicken can go back in to finish cooking. Once the drumsticks are laid in nice and snug, I'll clap on the lid and let this simmer for 20 to 25 minutes. It's been about 25 minutes, so the lid can come off. I'm pretty certain the chicken's cooked, just from the way the meat's pulling off the bone. Just to be sure, I'll also check the potatoes. Oh yeah, they're nice and tender. I'll leave this going a few more minutes with the lid off to reduce the sauce. This looks pretty much the way I want it, so I can fish out the bay leaves. Whatever their job was, I'm sure they've done it by now. I can also add the final veg, which is frozen peas. Mine are looking maybe a little too frozen. I should probably check my freezer after this. But they'll be fine once they soften up the sauce. At this point, I can check the sauce for consistency. It's looking good. And I can finally give it a taste. Seems about right to me. Alright, there's only one more thing left to do to finish this dish, and it's probably the step that's furthest from my mom's. I'm going to add prunes, about 6 of them. It's hard to tell because they're stuck together. My mom would, on occasion, add raisins to her afritada, and I know some recipes out there call for adding a pinch of sugar. I'm going to bring sweetness through prunes. It's a more interesting flavor than just plain sugar, I think, and the prunes will be softer and more luxurious than hard little nubs of raisin. I'll give this a final 2 or 3 minutes so the flavors can mingle. And here it is, chicken afritada, courtesy of Mama E, with a couple of added tweaks. In that bowl, you've got tender chicken, soft but still whole chunks of potato, a tender but not mushy veg, a rich tomatoey sauce that has both saltiness and sweetness to it, and a nice fruity surprise courtesy of the prunes. It's afritada unlike any other afritada, and if you think it looks good to eat right now, just wait. Like a lot of stews, this thing eats even better the next day once all the flavors come together, so leftovers will not be a problem. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and Mom, if you're watching, I hope you think I've done your afritada justice. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons before you go, and I'll see you next week.